Okay, let's look at the last sutta and finish off today's study. So this second sutta is page 1. The sutta is on page 182. Avijjā Paccaya Sutta. Avijjā means ignorance, Paccaya means conditionality or conditions. The sutta translates as the discourse on conditions, practice ignorance. So the many Paccaya Sutta, this one deals or begins with ignorance. S 12.27. This is found in SD 39.12. It's the last chapter of SD 39. So a very useful model for us to reflect on these conditions. Whenever you look around, everywhere, right? Even this building arises from conditions. Before this, there was just a little temple, and then people got together, and they worked together, and then you have this nice building. Right? So everything, we have conditions coming together. But what we want to know is, what about our life? Ignorance, things we experience in life, how does that happen? The 12 links is one model. This is, you notice here, there are the 12 links. Let's look at them. The Blessed One was staying at Savatthi. Bhikshus. So here is where the Buddha straight away addresses the monks. He gives them a teaching. Bhikshus, with ignorance as condition, there are formations. With formations as condition, there is consciousness. With consciousness as condition, there is name and form. With name and form as condition, there are the 6 sense bases. With the 6 sense bases as condition, there is contact. With contact as condition, there is feeling. With feeling as condition, there is craving. With craving as condition, there is clinging. With clinging as condition, there is existence. With existence as condition, there is birth. With birth as condition, or conditioned by birth, there arise decay and death, sorrow, lamentation, physical pain, mental pain, and despair. Such is the rising of this whole mass of suffering. Right? Actually, if you like, you can put brackets 12 just before there arise decay and death. That's number 12. See, I'll underline it for you. Okay? Maybe you can give me a red pen. Mark it right away. So when you call 12 links, this is how you get it. Okay? Got the red pen? So then the sutta explains each of them one by one. And what bhikshus, bhikshu are the monks, is decay and death. Aging, decaying, broken teeth, grey hair, wrinkled skin, the dwindling away of one's years, the weakness of the sense faculties in various beings, in various groups of beings, here and there. This bhikshu is called decay. So here you are. If you want, people ask you, how do you define 12 links? This is one sutta, remember? Very easy to remember, Paccaya Sutta, the sutta on conditions. Or more specifically, Avijjā Paccaya Sutta. Or S1227. You can't still remember that? Email me. The address is at the bottom. Okay, a lot of people do that, right? Okay. I welcome such email because it helps me to remember also. So you're doing me a favor. So, decay and death. Jara Marana. So in Pali, this is one term, Jara Marana. They go together. So, because of this, I feel calm and peaceful as much as I can, although I've lost 3 teeth and they're implanted now. My eyesight, I have glaucoma, I have to keep eye drops every day, and now I have this problem with my joint in my right shoulder. The x-ray says the bone there is degenerating. Very nice word. So I told the doctor, it says old age, right? The doctor kind of try to acknowledge, try not to. This is such a terrible thing when you say old age, but it's the truth, right? So if you understand the Dharma, you say, yeah, this is nature of life, so what is there to be said about? So you try your best, you go on with your work, because the mind can be strong. And look at the body of Stephen Hawking, that's your body is much better than his. He is the greatest mind in the 20th century. It's an amazing mind. So you have a good mind, it doesn't really matter about the body in that sense. I'm not saying you should be unhealthy. no matter how hard you work to keep your body healthy, there's always a limit to it. So don't be too overstressed by this. Then what is the definition of death? Falling away, passing away, breaking up, disappearance, death, dying, one's time being up, or completion of one's time, breaking up of the aggregates, discarding of the body, or uprooting of the life faculty in various beings, in various groups of beings, here and there. This is a very comprehensive translation, definition. It talks about different kinds of beings, and then locality, and so on. Oh, by the way, this method, in modern time, we call it a thesaurus method. Some people will collect all this and say, hey, look, all these words are synonyms of one term, like death. So you find in English, people have collected this. In fact, there was one monk in Sri Lanka called Moggallana. He collected all this and compiled it into a dictionary. And that became the world's first dictionary. It was published in the 10th century, long before Oxford dictionary by then. So it's a very interesting world record for Buddhism. The first dictionary is called the Avijjā Padipika. It lists all these words like that. So this is another value, the cultural value of suttas. It gives us this understanding of language. And then we have the refrain. This verse repeats itself all the time. With the arising of birth, there is the arising of decay and death. In other words, we are born, so we must die, right? You see that there are the four elements that we are made up of: earth, water, fire, wind. Fire is decay, burning process in our life. The decay starts the moment we are born. The moment we are born, decay starts, and it ends with death. Okay? So that's the way it is. So here the Buddha says, at least theoretically, when there's no birth, no suffering also. But birth is how we see life in our terms. The Buddha doesn't say non-existence. So this is one of the big problems about what nirvana is. It's neither existence nor non-existence. It doesn't fall into the two-skin, polarized way of thinking, right? And that's as far as words go. Then the Buddha says, this very noble eightfold path is the way leading to the ceasing of decay and death. That's to say, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Right here means full, complete, and proper, and wholesome. Eightfold path means you train your body, you train your mind, and then you are free from suffering. That's another way of looking at it. Next one is, and what bhikshus is birth? The birth of various beings into the various orders of beings. They are being born, descend to the womb, production, the arising of the aggregates, the obtaining of the sense basis. This bhikshu is called birth. So these are different kinds, how beings arise, how they are born. Okay, so these are different definitions. Take this as first introduction to all these different terms. Later on, as you study the suttas, each of these terms become more meaningful to us. With the arising of existence, there is a rising of birth. With the ceasing of existence, there is a ceasing of birth. So here is where the Buddha takes each pair of the travelings. A leads to B. No A, no B. Okay? Next one, what is existence? Now I'm reading a bit of, paraphrasing it, shorten a bit. I'm reading 6.1, next line. It shows there are three kinds of existence. Sense sphere existence, form sphere existence, formless sphere existence. This issue is called existence. So three kinds of beings. First is called the sense world. We are living in the sense world because we depend on the five senses. That's why it's called sense world. Number two, your formal world. Formal is a deep meditation jhana world, so that's another higher level. And then higher than that, there's called the formless world, where the beings have no form as we understand it, like pure energy. Then, 6.2, with the rising of clinging, there is a rising of existence. With the ceasing of clinging, there is a ceasing of existence. This very noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of existence, and then eightfold paths are listed again as before. Right? So here you have clinging leads to existence. So here the Buddha is analyzing it backwards, okay? Beginning with death, going back, heading for ignorance. Then next one, 7.1 brackets 4. Fourth link from the bottom, clinging. And what bhikshu is clinging? Bhikshus, there are these 4 kinds of clinging. Clinging to sensual pleasures, clinging to views, clinging to rituals and vows, clinging to the doctrine of a self. This bhikshu is called clinging. With the arising of craving, there is a arising of clinging. With the ceasing of craving, there is a ceasing of clinging. And how do you get out of this? Clinging to the Eightfold Path. Okay, clinging comes after craving. How is it related? We crave for something. We want something. Let's say, where do they sell this nice roti prata? Or this nice chicken rice, this nice nasi lemak? Right? We don't have much shoppers in Singapore, so food is one thing. So we found this place. Wow, okay, craving is first thing is we look for it, right? And you found it, you say, yeah, I must go there, must go there. So clinging means it's just like, you can't get this thing, so you look at it, you want it, that's craving. You don't get it yet, you see? Now once you got it, you won't let it go, clinging. So once you get it, you cling on to it, right? So here the Buddha said, no craving, no clinging. Right? Very simple. So once you see this pattern, everything else like fall in place, right? And the Eightfold Path teaches this. Then the Buddha says, okay, what about craving? What is craving? Okay, this is the next one, 8.1. Oh yeah, before that, let me explain a bit more about the 4 kinds of clinging. We cling to sensual pleasures, right? We hold on to it, we want more and more of it. And then if you have a view, you cling to it. For example, you have your opinion and people try to say something, you get upset, right? Next one is what? Clinging to rituals and vows, right? You get so caught up with all this, and if you don't do it, you feel guilty, you feel bad, you feel incomplete, right? And then clinging to idea of a self. So these are 4 wrong things that causes a lot of suffering, right? And then next one is, I'm going to summarize this, craving. Right? Look at the top of page 185. It shows there are 6 classes of craving, 6 kinds of craving, if you like. Craving for forms, craving for sounds, craving for smells, craving for tastes, craving for touches, craving for mind objects. This is called craving. Right? So craving arises to our 6 senses. 6 senses, 5 physical senses plus the mind. We see something nice, we want it. That's called craving. So with the arising of feeling, there is a arising of craving. With the ceasing of feeling, there is the ceasing of craving, right? So feeling leads to craving. No feeling, no craving. And if you understand the Eightfold Path, you practice the Eightfold Path, you will know how to deal with feelings. And then we ask, what are feelings? Right? So next one. 9.1, second line. Bhikshus, there are these 6 classes of feelings. Feeling born of eye contact. Eye contact means seeing the eye, action of the eye. The eye sees something. Visual contact. In army language, it's a visual contact. Like Buddhism is eye contact. Ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, mind contact. This is called contact. With the arising of sense doors, there's a rising of contact. With the ceasing of the 6 sense doors, there is a ceasing of contact. This very noble Eightfold Path is the way leading to the ceasing of contact. Right? So, after the Eightfold Path, you understand how to overcome feeling. Okay, let's spend just a few minutes here. Feeling arises again to the 6 senses. You see something nice, you feel good, then you crave for it. You see something you don't like, you suffer, you push it away. And if you've not experienced it before, you don't know what it is, you get bored with it. Okay? So if you're bored with it, also suffering. So this feeling arises because there is contact. So you let go of contact, you let go of feeling also. Contact means you direct what's called the sense faculty towards the sense object. And Contact arises because we have the 6 sense bases, right? 6 sense bases. What are the 6 sense bases? Pictures, the eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, mind base. These are called the 6 sense bases. In other 6 sense faculties. No? There are 5 physical sense faculties plus the mind. With the arising of name and form, there's a rising of the 6 sense bases. With the ceasing of name and form, there is the ceasing of the 6 sense bases. If you understand the Eightfold Path, you understand this also. What is name and form? Now, let's first, before we understand the 6 sense bases, plus the 5 senses plus the mind. Let's look at the eye first. The eye, we see something. For example, I've never seen this cup before. If I've never seen this, I don't know what it is. No name. There is form, but no name. If there's no name, I won't be able to remember this and I can't talk to you about it. So I need to give it a name. Right? We always see forms around us, but we don't know what it is. We give it names. We call this a cup, we call this a camera, we call this a pen, and so on. We give names to it. Okay? But what if there is something you see, you don't know what to call it? You know, I have a little small, we call it a Japanese table. Right? That again is a term we use. It's a table. But the interesting thing is, I sit on it every time I teach meditation. So do you call it a seat or a table? You know? But there's a very interesting word in the airplane. Airplane tells you chair table. Have you heard of that? They're chair table. Because the table is behind the chair. It's called a chair table. I thought it was a very interesting word. Where normally we think that they are two separate things, but here it's combined to one. In other words, human beings, you invent names, you invent your own words, but they're not the real thing. And then there is the form. What is the form? They're nothing but 4 elements. So when you understand, we invent the names and the form is 4 elements, then we begin to understand, oh, this is my name. And from there, you learn how to solve problems. Okay? So, with the arising of name and form, there's a rising of 6 senses. With the ceasing of name and form, the ceasing of 6 sense bases. So if you don't think in terms of name and form, then that faculty doesn't have to bother about it anymore. It doesn't exist in that sense. And what is name and form? Bhikshus, feeling, perception, volition, volition means will, contact and attention. This is called name. So name, in other words, is the mind. Simple term, that's the mind. Okay? Form and the 4 great elements. 4 great elements: earth, water, fire, wind. And the material form derived from the 4 great elements. In other words, the subsidiary points. You can see not 23 if you like. It's called form. Form, simple way of remembering. Okay? Name is the mind, attention, and then form is the 4 elements. Check it. Look at it. So, with what I'm reading 12.2, with the arising of consciousness, there is a rising of name and form. With the ceasing of consciousness, there is the ceasing of name and form. And then again, if you understand the Eightfold Path, you understand all this. So here we go one more step back. Consciousness. Because there is consciousness, there are name and form. And what Bhikshus is this consciousness? Bhikshus, there are 6 classes of consciousness. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. So 6 are consciousnesses. No? Consciousness is the activity of our 6 senses, in other words. Okay? 13.2. The arising of volitional formation, there is a rising of consciousness. With the ceasing of volitional formation, there is a ceasing of consciousness. And if you understand the Eightfold Path, you understand this. Formations here is, in other words, a kind of a willful action. For example, if I don't want to see this thing, it won't appear to me, I won't remember it, right? If I hear something, I don't direct my mind to it, I will get angry, I will get upset, right? I will be affected. So there is this attention, there is this will, karma. That's the meaning here. This is the meaning of formations. And then the question here next is about what is this volitional formation? 14.1. Bhikshu, there are three kinds of volitional formation: bodily formation, verbal formation, mental formation. Three kinds of karma. Karma is performed through, number one, body, number two, speech, number three, mind. So this is called three doors of karma. It's under the With the arising of ignorance, there is the arising of volitional formations. With the ceasing of ignorance, there is a ceasing of volitional formations. Now we come to the last item. This willing, this doing of karma, directing our attention, arises to ignorance. In a sense, many of the things we do, most of the things we do is out of ignorance. We hear something, someone says something, we get upset. It's because of ignorance we get upset, right? So here the Buddha says, if you get rid of ignorance, you get rid of that upset feeling also. That means you got to cultivate wisdom. So you need to understand the Eightfold Path, right? So now we come to the last one. Ignorance is the start of all these 12 links. This solves the problem of what is life. What is life? For example, this is a basic religious question we ask, who created the world? Right? God believers say, oh, God created the world. It's a very tricky statement because very imaginative. Nobody has seen a God and they say God created the world. And then they define a world God. Somebody in America got so upset with this because they started having creationism and so on. So this guy said, no, we don't want this creationism. If you want to believe in God, why can't we believe in something like flying spaghetti monster? Says, I believe this flying spaghetti monster created the world. And he's there watching us and always making us see things that we want to see. So that's my God. So if you believe in a God idea, you've got to believe in what I believe too. Whether there's a flying spaghetti monster or not, that's not the point. But the point is this: if you believe in something as imaginative as a God idea, you've got also to respect my own imaginative idea. There is this flying spaghetti monster. So it's very interesting, intelligent man's way of challenging another idea. Okay? So what the person is trying to say, these are all ideas. Don't get too caught up with them. Okay, look at the Buddhist solution. You ask the Buddha, how did life begin? Or how did the world begin? The Buddha said, ignorance. If you ask the God believer, okay, you say God created the world, who created the world? They will tell you, don't ask, you are this, you are that, all kinds of explanation. No? In other words, they don't know. But you ask the Buddha, who created the world? How did the world arise? Buddha said, ignorance. Of course, and then you ask me, what is ignorance? I said, I don't know. That's true, right? Because it's ignorance, And it's because I don't know all this suffering arose. I think that's a very good answer. And that's not negative, because the next thing is we make an effort to know, to find out. Not to believe, but to know. That's the difference. So, now everything is summarized. We come to the end of the sutta, section 15. Bhikshus, when a noble disciple thus understands a condition, Paccaya, thus understands the arising of a condition, Paccaya samudaya, thus understands the ending of a condition, Paccaya nirodha, thus understands the way to the ending of a condition, Paccaya nirodha gamini patipada. This bhikshu is called the noble disciple, who as such is accomplished in view, as such is accomplished in vision, as such is one who has arrived at this true Dharma, as such sees this true Dharma, as such is accomplished in the learner's knowledge, as such is accomplished in the learner's true knowledge, as such is the one who has entered the Dharma stream. Dharma stream refers to stream winning. As such is the noble one who has penetrated wisdom, as such stands before Nirvana's door. It's going to be awakened. You might say all this description talks about awakening, levels, process of awakening. So what the Buddha is saying here is, whatever happens around us, one word is conditions. So that you have A leads to B. You remove A, B also is removed. So next time we have a problem, we say, okay, this is how I feel. What led to this feeling? Okay? This feeling is not because the one I love is wrong or bad, or my boss is wrong or bad, but there's a condition there. Something made this happen. Notice if the conditions are right, people are good, people are happy. You notice when people are happy, they don't blame others, even when mistakes are made, right? So, conditions. You understand condition, you'll find you can solve problem better. That is a simple note on the nature of conditions. The sutta gives us a deeper analysis of conditions. So it's left to you to want to go deeper or to the level that you need. Alright, so I'll finish that just in time. Any questions? Else?
A few weeks ago, there was a newspaper report. They just discovered another planet 3 times the size of Earth.
Yes.
So you can ask people, did God create that planet? And if they say yes, then you ask them next, are there any Christians on that planet? If not, what is the purpose of creating that?
Yeah, this is interesting. You know, we can discover
We discovered 2 planets, K something, one sister planets.
One of my favorite reflections is I like to see overviews. There was a time when we live, all that we are all aware of in our ancestors is the immediate environment. Maybe we live in a cave and then immediate environment. As far as you go hunting, beyond that is the end of the world. There are some Amazonian tribes that still believe that. And later, when we were kids, we were born and then we only know the house. And later, maybe the neighborhood. I remember I was young, I was cycling around trying to be familiar with my environment. And then the first street outside of the town, I don't know if you remember, when you're very young, first street outside your town, wow, it's a great event. You never see the city or what, And then after that, another country. And then now you more or less know the world, And then you have these explorers exploring our world. What's next? Discovering another, they've gone to the moon, And they're going to Mars. And now they're going outside the galaxy. So these are very interesting developments. But remember, the Buddha said, just as there are our world with all these planets and heavens and so on, the Buddha said there are many other universes like ours. So Buddha was talking about parallel universes. It's not just talking about one world, it's talking about universes. It's like there are other universes. It's amazing. So in a sense, the discovery is a welcome one to Buddhism. And hopefully
Buddhism's theory is cause and effect.
Conditionality, yes. I mean, we don't have to give an explanation just because we don't know who created it, and science is working on it. And just because we come up with an imaginative idea doesn't mean we are right. It's okay to say it's just a working hypothesis, but what these people believe in God like to say, this is the only truth, that is the problem. See? He made a suitable explanation, some people find it works for them, most people don't, but there are many other explanations. Okay? I mean, it's just like, you fall in love with someone, and you tell this person, I'm in love with you, but before I marry you, I want to know exactly why you fall in love, what happened, why all this happened, if you will never get married, right? It's enough to know you love each other, you find you can get along, and you're happy together, it's good enough. Okay, you got to get to know each other, right? But beyond that is karma, How can you know karma? It's very complicated, okay? So what the Buddha is saying, there are some things you can know directly here, you know that, and you work from them. No need to know other things which are beyond our ken, beyond knowledge. They don't really bother us. We don't need to worry about such things. Any other questions? Or
yes. Page 183 at the beginning. The very first one. With ignorance as a condition, there are formations.
Okay.
Please explain this.
Okay. Because we don't know a lot of things. Here I don't know truthfully specific to the Four Noble Truths, by the way. Because we don't know something, we act through body, speech, and mind. Much of our action is based on ignorance. We say things, we think things, we act often through ignorance. Ignorance is our greatest motivator. That's the meaning. Remember, you look at the last item, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, in other words, suffering. Right? This sequence of links is to explain how suffering arises. It arises to ignorance. Why do we suffer? It's because the very first point is ignorance, but you can't find where you start. When you say first point, we just say you start there, you can understand better why we are suffering. So now take the last one. Let's say a sickness. Okay. So somebody is sick. The doctor looks at this person and studies all the symptoms. He tries to go back, and find out what caused his sickness. Right? Of course, in the case of the doctor, he will discover it is some kind of virus. But that is because it's found the answer. But before that, nobody knows what the virus is. That's ignorance.
But can you say the opposite, for instance, with wisdom, there is no formation?
Oh yes. That is the positive link. This is the negative link. Then you got the positive link.
So if you have wisdom, then you will have all these thoughts, that are all wrong.
Yeah. So that the cycle goes reverse. So you have dependent arising, you have dependent ending. That leads to nirvana. So that starts with wisdom. And you can start with suffering also, by the way. There's one interesting sutta, Paccaya Sutta, where the Buddha says, when you suffer, and then you are wise, you examine the suffering, faith arises in you. So in other words, if you study the Dharma and then you feel suffering and say, wow, this is really bad. So I can imagine how other people also feel the same way. And then faith arises in you in the Buddha's teaching. And from faith you go on, you get effort, and you're going to apply your practice, and then step by step, you reverse the whole negative process into a positive one. Okay? Any other question? Feedback? So this is our second volume on meditation taken on the suttas. So the first one is called Meditation Safety Guide. This volume 2, a skills guide. Volume 2 is on the 5 mental illnesses. So you want this book, it's $20. Yes, $20. It's the latest volume. Okay, so we end here. Oh yes, there's one more book, SD25, which is a reprint. Not actually a reprint, it's the first time I released publicly. It's called the Brahmajala Sutta. This one is the very first sutta in the sutta collection. Brahmajala talks about the 62 bases of wrong views. This is one sutta, by the way, not many. It's one volume.
Just one.
Yeah, it's a very long, difficult sutta, but it's a very interesting sutta with all the commentaries. Okay, so let us do a short reflection to end this study. When we gather together to study suttas like this, it's a very wonderful time when we can directly see into the Buddha's teaching, so that we can know where to look for the teachings when we need them, and also to understand and digest the Buddha's wisdom according to our own time, our own level of understanding, step by step, so that our practice is helped and we further our understanding, our wisdom, and our happiness. The purpose of studying the Dharma and the suttas is to be happy. When we are happy, we meditate better. We're able to help other people better too. Reflecting in this way is a very good karma. By the power of this good karma and many other good karma we have been doing, practicing charity, keeping the precepts, meditating, learning the Dharma. By the power of all these good deeds, may we attain spiritual liberation, especially stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all the beings here, to all our teachers, to all those people working for the Dharma, to everyone here. And also, let us send out this loving kindness to our loved ones, to everyone else, especially those whom the Dharma have not touched, that they may see the Dharma and be happy and awaken too. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.